This is WVBN from Italy. After the Regia Aeronautica objected to the Regia Marina's use of carrier aircraft on legal grounds, the Marina prepared to fight back in full force in the court of law. What they found was a surprisingly amenable Aeronautica, who had cooled themselves off after coming around to the compromise of naval aircraft being procured exclusively from Piaggio, IMAM, and CANT, allowing the Aeronautica to maintain full control and production from more well-established aircraft companies. The Marina received support from Air Brigadier General Simone Pietro Mattei, who believed that long-range naval and carrier aircraft could more easily protect Aeronautica assets. Notably, Mussolini did not weigh in on the issue, preventing the issue from escalating to a national one. The final agreement between the two branches would see all military seaplanes and naval patrol transfer fully to the control of the Regia Marina, while the Sparviero SM-79 would return to Regia Aeronautica control after training Marina pilots for the Piaggio P-108. The Italian naval air fighter would become the Imam RO-57 for the long-range air cover, while the prototype P-119 would be developed into their first carrier fighter. Rumors also sprung up about the possibility of the United States facilitating the conversion of 3 vessels into escort carriers, further cementing naval aviation as a permanent fixture in the Italian military. Vice Admiral Romeo Bernotti was promoted to Admiral to take control of the Italian naval aviation program, with Captain Giuseppe Fioravanzo as his operational commander. Captain Fioravanzo will eventually be promoted to Rear Admiral as the Italian Fleet Air Arm comes online. In the meantime, his duties will concern procurement and training of pilots under Hosho until Aquila is ready for service. Plans were drafted for Aquila's sister Sparviero, but are unconfirmed at this time despite enthusiastic reception by the Navy. The Greater Balkan Neutrality Pact's advance team flew into Bucharest in order to deal with disease and the Soviet Union. Of the two, disease had become a lower priority after the infection had seemingly become dormant, after ravaging the countryside. Disease herself was co-named Elisabetta, whose location was unknown despite intelligence efforts. All that had been discovered were choppy phrases intercepted through radio transmission, typically single words such as suffering and regret. Other transmissions included more clear but antiquated signals reading off biblical psalms from the Book of Job. What this could mean is still unknown. Aerial reconnaissance also came up dry, with the military concluding that searching would have to be conducted on ground level. Romania confirmed that the Soviet Union was mobilizing around the border, but suggested that they had expected the Romanians to roll over without a fight. It was also suggested that intelligence had uncovered some critical information, but the nature of this is unknown at this time. The Romanian army had started to dig in around roads and railways, with a focus on holding up the Soviet army through major supply routes in the region. While Bessarabia itself was a mostly poor, undeveloped region, it was still possible for large army movements to be conducted. Romania requested that packed troops reinforce the main defensive lines, while more capable mobile units would prepare to respond where necessary. Engineering units were requested to prepare bridges for demolition and construct additional fortifications. The Italian Army and Air Force determined they could quickly mobilize the 3rd Alpini Division in short order, as well as 2 engineering battalions. Aerial elements coordinated well with the Romanian Air Force, but the 3rd Alpini faced significant holdups and delays while attempting to move by air. Following the 3rd Alpini, the 10th Motorized was planned to mobilize to Romania, but issues and delays at train yards saw them delayed as well, particularly angering Mussolini, especially after a rail accident saw several L6 tanks damaged, harming their armored capability. These revealed deep issues with Italian military logistics that would have to be solved. Other pact allies to mobilize were the Bulgarian Third Army, commanded by Lieutenant General Georgi Popov, who was already sending battalions of troops to Romania. Internal issues in Greece and Turkey prevented either from reinforcing Romania for the time being, and while Yugoslavia struggled similarly, did promise to begin sending troops in the coming weeks. Until then, the Romanians would shoulder the bulk of the defense alone. Elsewhere, Italian engineers would be sent to Libya to begin surveying for oil deposits, as trade overseas became less reliable. Conte di Savoia brought them across the sea quickly and without incident. While future convoys with more men and equipment would not be as swift, it was as good a start as any. In the Aegean, Carabinieri and her task force successfully boarded a Morgana ghost ship, finding no cargo but instead a grisly satanic church set up in the lower hull. Upon inspection, however, the scene was found to be a farce, with fake blood, shoddy decorations, and a note from Mischief instructing her thralls to scrap this particular prank as it had gotten stale. This did lead to the ship sinking itself, and all but 3 men managed to escape the vessel before it sank. Napoli prepared to depart from Eritrea as she was ready to be escorted home after weeks in a shipyard there. She would need to be escorted by Italian forces. Rex and Duca d'Aosta arrived safely in Norfolk, Virginia, after crossing the Atlantic. Just as they were finishing, Rex was forced to destroy a Morgana submarine prowling around with her deck guns and bare hands, saving USS Barry from destruction and to the thanks of the people of Norfolk. To show their appreciation, the Americans outfitted Rex with repairs, new 3-inch guns in powered mounts, and a suite of new anti-aircraft mounts. Rex requested the mounts be rigged for dual purpose, as she hated dealing with Morgana submarines. She also stipulated that the men working on her be served meals in her dining hall, still under the supervision of her old chef. This work detail became one of the most desired on the East Coast. The Morgana salvage was offloaded at Norfolk Naval Base for future research, including a vanity gun, anti-aircraft suites, fire control systems, and gun directors, all of which were semi-organic in construction. Other Morgana salvage included mountless torpedoes and uninstalled autocannons, suggesting that Nero might have been experimenting with their usage. The remainder of the salvage was quietly handled, though Rex insisted on celebrating with a triumphant celebration. Reports from Gibraltar blamed the British on the recent difficulties in establishing defensive fortifications, suggesting they were unwilling to work properly with the Italian forces there and exceedingly poor hosts. The lead officer finished by accusing them of scapegoating the Italians for their own shortcomings, and requested additional Italian personnel to properly fortify the location. Finally, Turkish officials released detained British ships after diplomatic efforts. Turkey expressed a desire for future incidents to be avoided or resolved quickly, if they did, and reminded Britain that the true enemy was the Morgana. To that end, they also moved the beached Morgana submarine near Hatay to an undisclosed location with German and Italian assistance. This has been WVBN from Italy.